All right, well, thank you. Good afternoon, and I hope you're all ready for this adventure. So I'd like to share with you today something completely new and different for our profession's K through 12 outreach. So how do we get kids interested in this profession? Well, I believe we can create something new to connect with kids on an emotional level and to introduce our profession to a wider and more diverse audience, and to attract and inspire the next generation of landscape architects. As we've seen from our cohort's presentations today, landscape architects are taking on massive social and environmental problems. Yet, our profession is near absent in popular culture. Everyone experiences the result of landscape architects on a daily basis, yet very few of us even know it exists as a profession. We really need a new vehicle to bring people to the table. We know that people find this profession late in life, and we know that we struggle with diversity. One of the strategic objectives of the ASLA is to promote landscape architecture as a career option and to foster diversity within the profession. And while there are efforts towards this, there are not a lot of materials that are dedicated to this end. And they're often created for people who are already looking for them. So over the past year, the goal of this fellowship has been to use narrative to expose a young and diverse audience to our profession through the creation of a graphic novel. As one of the most powerful means to influence, teach, and inspire, I'm aiming to use storytelling to help readers create an emotional connection to landscape and to landscape architecture. So why graphic novels? Well, they're the fastest growing section of the library today. Their combination of words and pictures teach visual literacy. They work on multiple levels, and they make reading approachable for the dyslexic, English as a second language students, and struggling readers. They make complex ideas and subjects much more accessible. They're beloved by kids and teachers everywhere, and they found their way into classrooms all across the nation. Graphic novels, such as the March series, are used to teach about the history of the civil rights movement. One of the ultimate goals of this project would be to have this future graphic novel on the bookshelf of every classroom in every school across the nation, introducing and exposing kids to the profession of landscape architecture and to their role in advocating for the public realm. While comics have been around for over a century, graphic novels really took off as a medium in the 1980s. And for the past 20 years, they've pretty much exploded in every genre imaginable. And while this has been a focus of my past year, it's probably something I've been working on my entire life. As you can imagine, I grew up drawing and reading comics. And even when I started to pursue a career in landscape architecture, I still really loved comics. And I saw their potential to introduce kids to this profession. As an undergraduate student at Michigan State University, I developed a landscape architecture superhero comic with my buddy and classmate Andy Deere as a way to kind of introduce kids to this profession. But it wasn't really until I had kids of my own that I fully understood the power of this medium. My kids, Nathan and Hazel, started bringing home graphic novels from the library, like every day, at a very early age. And while they brought a ton of different books home, there was one book in particular that connected with my wife and I just as much as it did with them. And that's C.C. Bell's El Defo. You really got to read this book. It's hysterical. It's got fun illustrations, a touching, heartwarming, and humorous story. And it has the power that all good kids' entertainment has. It holds the attention of adults just as much as kids. And it does it through humor and emotion. I believe we connect to landscape on an emotional level, whether it's in person or through paintings. And I think the same can be true with comics. I believe that landscape is often directly connected to our memories, specifically related to place. And place is almost always designed, or place in the natural world is preserved as special. Landscape architecture plays a role in both of these. So my initial explorations in this fellowship used the graphic novel format to convey emotion, memory, and to describe a connection to place, all of which are critical to connect to the reader. So this careful study of sequential images tested 4 different settings: natural, rural, suburban, and urban. And they helped guide me on my path to writing and drawing a story that I'm going to share with you today. Our public landscapes have the power to create connections, to forge bonds, and to form memories. In this graphic novel, the external threat of change brings a community together to recognize and fight for the landscape that they treasure. It started off like any other summer day. It was simply beautiful, but there was an electricity in the air, a sense of danger, as if something unforeseen might change the course of events. The nor'easter that then blew through the city had not been picked up by the radar, nor the weather forecast. No one expected it coming, but thunder shook the ground and lightning crashed through the sky, connecting the heavens above with the soils and the rocks below and splintering the great red oak in the park wilderness. And after that, the neighborhood would never be the same. Because with that spark of electricity, the sorcerer rose from the depths of the wilderness and came to life, corrupted by power, consumed with malice, and hell bent on domination. The dark sorcerer manages to steal the magical crown jewel of the emerald necklace. With its power under his control, he enchants the plants and animals and helps him wreak havoc on the landscape and take control of the park for his own devious purposes. Chaos ensues. The community could fall to ruins. Can no one stop this evil sorcerer? Who within this community has the intimate knowledge of the park and all of its features to be able to thwart the evil sorcerer's plans? Guided by their magical map and ready for battle, Rick and his friends set out to find the sorcerer, to stop him from controlling the park, and to win back the crown jewel of the emerald necklace. Rick and his friends are heroes. Or at least in their fantasies, they're heroes. In reality, they're just your average kids. You know, they've got their average problems. They live in an average neighborhood. They attend an average school. But in their fantasies, Rick and his friends are adventurers. They undertake quests within their local park. And these quests are guided by a map that they've created. The map marks all the locations of the incredible features of the park. The ruins at Schoolmaster Hill, the tunnel at Ellicott Arch, that ledge outcrop that they use as a lookout to spot the sorcerer in the wilderness. The map acts as a recording of their different adventures, a sort of living history of that summer, and a way of finding the sorcerer throughout the park. Now, this map, it's the kids' protected secret. Their parents don't know anything about the map, right? Or anything about the fantasy quests that they undertake. Their friends don't know about it. This is their secret. This is their thing, right? But there's one person in the neighborhood who does know. He's one of Rick's neighbors. And to Rick, he's treated as a trusted sage. And that's because he's a fellow dreamer. You see, he shares the same love for adventure. And he has his own inner fantasy world. You see, he too draws magical maps. He spends his free time drawing little plans for areas around the neighborhood. He's reforested empty plots for carbon sequestration. He's re-envisioned the entire street grid. He's rearranged it to make way for rapid transit, for bike lanes, for stormwater management and coastal resilience. You see that map maker, that dreamer? He happens to be a landscape architect. and he works for the city, and he too has a secret of his own. You see, he knows a little bit about what's going on in the city, and he knows that the city has decided to renovate and redevelop a portion of their beloved park to accommodate a new use, something that's desperately needed within this city and within this community, a use being actively promoted by the public officials. And that neighbor, that landscape architect, he's been charged with working with the different communities to listen to their needs and hear their concerns and facilitate a plan to accommodate all these different uses while preserving the character of that beloved park. The neighborhood is up in arms over change, but also conflicted to whether this could be good or bad. The concerns of the adults are reflected within the kids, and the tension builds within their fantasy world. Could this sorcerer end up controlling the park? Public process plays out, protests occur, community meetings are held, zoning and code compliance is depicted in ways that you'd never imagine to be interesting. And the story modulates between fantasy and reality, and the inner lives of the kids are shared, and the inner lives of the adults are shared, and the conflicts that exist within our community are depicted, and you experience the challenge that's in the design of our public spaces. And in the process of reading this book, you create an emotional connection to these characters who've made an emotional connection to a place, to a landscape. And all along the way, you've learned about this incredible profession of landscape architecture. And a spark catches fire, and you want to become interested enough so that you want to learn more about this profession. So imagine your child coming home from school and saying, "Mom and Dad, check out this book. It's not a textbook, it's a graphic novel. And yeah, it's got some sorcerers in it and some magical bears, but it's got community meetings and zoning and code compliance." And I heard you all laugh, that was funny. And it crosses over between all the different school subjects, just like our profession bridges the arts and the sciences with the humanities. And so a teacher's guide accompanies the book, and it lists the relevant English language art standards from the Common Core. It offers recommendations on how to facilitate in-class discussions using the book. It keys in lessons on earth science and life science to the next generation science standards. It complements the existing curriculum. It's not in addition to everything that teachers already have to do, but it works within an existing set of standards. STEM and STEAM-based hands-on exercises get shared, engaging students in critical thinking, problem solving, and designed solutions. It returns design thinking to the classroom. QR codes get provided to link you to ASLA, to LAF, and other resources. It could connect you to the K-12 outreach committee of your local chapter, or the recently published Franklin Park Action Plan. And most importantly, because our profession is place-based, using the setting of Franklin Park in Boston as a backdrop to the story presents an opportunity for readers to make their own emotional connection to a place. In the Boston, New England area, teachers will take their students to Franklin Park. This place of mystery and fantasy and reality set within the book could now be brought to life through a field trip. Instead of the typical trip to the zoo, students will climb the 99 steps with their teacher, and they'll discuss how the kids escaped the sorcerer from the wilderness. Students will observe the masonry cut from the pudding stone, and they'll learn about the underlying geology of the site and how the drumlins form the park. They'll recognize the glacial radix as the ones that the giants threw at the kids. They'll see the clether blooms and understand that that was what the sorcerer used to enchant the bears. Suddenly they'll start to see the landscape. It will become real for them. And those students will be issued their own quest. And they'll depart in small groups seeking objects or places within the wilderness, and they'll rush to see the wizard of Franklin Park. I'm going to let you know that a graphic novel is not a small project. nor could it ever be completed within the time frame of this fellowship. Professionals have told me it takes multiple years. However, this last year has provided me the guidance and structure to develop a story that will resonate on multiple levels and to explore its potential as a useful teaching tool inside and outside the classroom. While I'm working on a single graphic novel focused on a single place, I can envision this as a model for other stories in other settings, each with its own specific landscape architecture issues to address. I'm really grateful for the tremendous support of LAF, our advisors and cohorts, my family, and everyone who has consistently pushed this project beyond my initial pipe dream. Our outreach needs an innovative approach to bring new dreamers to the profession and to raise awareness within the general public of this incredible work that we all do, including the enormous problems we're tackling as those presented today in the symposium. So I'll be closing quickly with an ask for your help. Oops. I'm building a list of names to promote the publication of this graphic novel, so please add your name to the pre-order list of the website that I've created for this. I'm aiming for enough of a following for publishers to take notice and to jumpstart the future production of this book. I have postcards in the lobby for you all if you don't want to scan the QR code, and please send one to someone who you need to have see this work. Thank you very much.